And we are live, ladies and germs. I'm back, bitches. It's been a minute since I've done a live stream because the internet router decided to be a complete and total dick and not work for some reason until tonight, which is weird. I can't explain it. But we're here, getting ready to rock and roll. And we're finally doing the Coca-Cola 600 review, and holy shit, do we have a lot to talk about. A lot to talk about. Lots of news stories, and of course the race itself. All I can say is you might want to pause the video, get yourself some popcorn, maybe a drink, because this is going to be a marathon in and of itself. And I hope you guys have a fucking good time watching this review. And after seeing that I got 100 subscribers finally after 3.5 years. Cool deal. But we're about to get things started, and we're about to have my first race review inside my new recording studio. So saddle up, lock and load. I'm back, bitches. This is the fuel. What's happening, ladies and germs? It's the Packerman, and welcome to tonight's edition of The Fuel, where tonight we are finally going to be reviewing the 2022 Coca-Cola 600 that took place at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Give me 1 second. Well, originally I was going to do a pre-recorded edition of this video, of this review, because of the fact that I didn't have internet over this past week, because for some reason my internet router decided to inexplicably fail. So I had to call my ISP, and they basically said, well, we can upgrade to fiber, but it wasn't going to happen until this coming Monday. And then tonight I come back from watching the Truck Series race, and then an absolutely crazy ass Xfinity race at Portland where they were racing in the rain, and I find that my router is working once again. I don't even know. I don't even know anymore. But you know, it is what it is. So we're going to go ahead and get into this review. Well, not the review. Well, we're going to go ahead and just talk about some things. What do you want, Trouble? Seriously, cats? Really? What do you want, boys? These cats want attention at the worst possible time, I tell you. But anywho, where do I even begin with this? You know, I've been thinking about how this race played out over the past week. And I mean, it's without a doubt one of the craziest and messiest Coca-Cola 600s that I can ever recall watching. But what are some of the main takeaways from this 63rd edition of the Coca-Cola 600? It was long. I mean, it damn near took 5.5 hours, which is just, in my opinion, way too fucking long for a NASCAR race. And then there was the fact that there were so many damn caution flags. I mean, if you count the stage breaks, there were 18 total caution flags in this race. Only 4 off the all-time record that was set back in 2005. So those were a couple of big negatives that I would take out of this race. And there were actually points during this race where I felt myself nodding off because it was just like, oh, it was just going on so long. And you gotta remember something. This is taking place on, you know, what is considered the greatest day in motorsports, when you have the Monaco Grand Prix, the Indianapolis 500, which congratulations to Marcus Ericsson, by the way, who won a record $3.1 million for winning that race, and Pato Award for finishing second earned $1 million. So big payouts in this year's edition of the Indy 500. Of course, they were going at breakneck speeds. I mean, Scott Dixon set the all-time pole record, for fuck's sake, so they were going fast in this year's edition of the 500. And in addition to those two races, you also have the Coca-Cola 600. Well, let's be honest here. I have sat through some absolutely horrid Coca-Cola 600s in my time watching NASCAR. Was this a horrid Coca-Cola 600? I would say the answer to that is no. It was not. And what? Why is that showing up? Oh, phone's plugged in. Fuck. A pop up on my screen and it just distracted me for a second. But getting back to what I was saying, was this a horrid Coke 600? Absolutely not. I mean, was it long? Did it kind of go too long? Yeah. I mean, this race ended up being the longest race in NASCAR history at 619.5 miles because of the 2 overtimes that we had. And for a lot of people, you know, it was like we sat through all that just to watch Denny Hamlin win. And trust me, I know a lot of people don't really like Denny Hamlin. I'm right there too. I mean, there's a lot of times where I've heavily criticized Hamlin for some of the shit that he's done. But let's be completely real here, people. The only thing that Denny Hamlin was guilty of last Sunday in the Coca-Cola 600 was being in the right place at the right time. I mean, that's all you can really say. He was not a dominant figure whatsoever in that race, despite being the pole sitter. I mean, he only led 15 laps out of 400. But he was there when it mattered the most. I mean, and had a great battle with his teammate Kyle Busch at the end, and he ended up getting the victory. I mean, what more can you really say? I mean, he capitalized on some of the crazy shit that happened in this race. And there was a lot of crazy shit. And a lot of attrition as well. 17 out of 37 cars failed to finish this race. In racing terms, this is what we call a bloodbath. Hence the name of this episode, Bloodbath Marathon. Because the attrition rate was the highest it has been in a long ass time. And it was a marathon. So, hence the title of this episode. But this was not a bad Coca-Cola 600 by any stretch of the imagination, because when the racing was on, it was good. I mean, the number of lead changes that we had in this race is just crazy. And then you factor in the number of pure lead changes that we had in this race. I mean, this was a good Coca-Cola 600. It was messy, yes. May have overstayed its welcome. But when you consider the fact that we've sat through some absolutely horrid Coca-Cola 600s. 2015 comes to mind. That one was absolutely fucking wretched. How bad that one was. You know, and then you had Truex absolutely curb stomping the field in 2016, leading, I think, like fucking 392 of the 400 laps. I mean, it was an absolute curb stomping. Kyle Busch, when he dominated the race in a similar fashion a couple years ago. You could say Kyle Larson, you know, he dominated the race last year, led over 300 laps, and won the race. But in this case, with this new car, there wasn't really one driver who was overly dominant like we've seen in the past. I mean, Ross Chastain led the most laps with 150 some odd laps, but when you compare it to some of the other curb stompings that we've seen in this race in recent years, I mean, it's just not the same. It's just not the same feeling. What do you want, Claw? Freaking cat. You better not knock over my camera or I'm going to kick your ass. Thank you. Freaking cats. But yeah, I mean, this wasn't the curb stomping that we've seen that in a lot of Coca-Cola 600s in the past. I mean, there were 13 different leaders during this race, if that tells you anything. And lots of good racing. You know, it was just a little too messy for my liking, so that's going to bring the score down a little bit. But overall, I would say this is the best Coca-Cola 600 that I've seen in years, because usually this race is just absolute fucking trash, and that was definitely not the case this season. So that's my opening rant, although it wasn't much of a rant. I mean, it was more of a I guess you could say kind of an explanation of things, because while the race was long and it was messy, it was still fun to watch. And it was also super competitive, which we have not seen in the Coke 600 in recent years. I can tell you that much right now. But with that out of the way, let's get to the news of the week. And holy Lord, we have got a lot of news to go over. So let's go ahead and get into it. Whoops, and I forgot to black all these out. Always something, ain't it? Always screwing something up. Oh well, whatever. Anyways, yeah, the camera's over here and my screen is now over here, along with my keyboard and mouse. So if you see me reaching over like this, that's why. Unlike what my usual deal is. Here, I'll turn the camera a little bit. But anywho, let's get things started here, as we normally do, with the ratings. And we got 2 to go through this time around. So, since I didn't do... cat, quit messing with my foot. Fucking cat. Anyways. So, first 2 things we're going to do is the ratings for Kansas and the All-Star race. And would you quit doing that? You little shit. First up is Kansas. Kansas pulls 2.337 million viewers on FS1, by the way. Let me check something here. No, it's not what I wanted. Find this real quick. There we go. So Kansas got a 1.43 rating and 2.337 million viewers for Sunday's Cup Series event at Kansas. Well, this was, you know, back in the middle of May. Unfortunately, it was down from 2.739 million for last year's event, which is a bit of a shame because Kansas was actually a pretty good race. But it was on FS1, so that might have had something to do with it, because not a whole lot of people actually have FS1. So there's that. And then there was the All-Star race, and we're going to be talking a lot about the All-Star race here in this segment. The All-Star race at Texas had 2.481 million viewers. In comparison to last year, though, last year had 2.735 million viewers for last year's race, which was in mid-June. But yeah, I think it's pretty obvious that a lot of people just did not like the All-Star race. I think like 90% of people just did not like the All-Star race whatsoever. We're going to be talking more about that here in a little bit. But yeah, it shouldn't be really that much of a surprise because both of these races were on FS1, whereas the Coca-Cola 600 was on the main channel, Fox, and got a lot more viewership, even though it was less than last year. But the fact that, you know, the Coca-Cola 600 got the viewership that it got, despite the fact that it was over 5 hours long, is pretty impressive. But we'll talk about that probably tomorrow. I was going to do the Gateway review on Monday because I didn't know if I was going to have internet. Well, I knew for a fact I was going to have internet Monday because I'm having fiber put in, which should be blazing quick. But I wasn't expecting to have internet tonight or tomorrow, so might actually get to do the Gateway review tomorrow night. So there you go. Alright, next up, the appeals panel upholds the 11-team suspensions. If you recall, Joe Gibbs Racing's 11 team filed an appeal on the suspensions given to the 11 team after they lost a wheel, which I can't remember which race it was, but it was for a lost wheel. And the appeals panel upheld the suspensions to the JGR 11 team and modifies the 4 race suspensions to the next 4 points races. So they would be allowed to be at the All-Star race, but then would miss the Coke 600, Gateway, Sonoma, and Nashville. Of course, Gateway is tomorrow. And it's only a 300-mile race because it has characteristics of New Hampshire and Darlington, with a little bit of Phoenix thrown in. I say New Hampshire because it's a flat 1 1/4 mile oval, and I say Darlington because it's egg-shaped. So it's a very weird oval, to say the least. But NASCAR has been going there for years with the Xfinity Series and then the Truck Series and now finally the Cup Series, which will happen tomorrow night. And Cat, get your ass out of the camera. But yeah, then after Sonoma, the Cup Series actually gets their lone week off, and then we have the transition period from Fox to NBC, which a lot of people are looking forward to. And the first race for NBC is at Nashville. So there you go. Cat, get out of the way, you little shit. Yo, come on, move. Don't. Jesus Christ, Cat. Cat, get. Damn it. Lord have mercy. Anyways. Double checking my mic to make sure it's working because I don't want to have a situation like the fucking All-Star review. Alright, next up. JGR is working on getting the 18-team sponsorship. So there's been some rumblings about whether or not Joe Gibbs Racing was going to be able to retain Kyle Busch for the 2023 season. But as it turns out, Joe Gibbs Racing is working with JTG Daughtery's owner's agency to sell sponsorship. So, this is on the Sports Business Journal, and it says that Joe Gibbs Racing is working with JTG Daugherty Owners Agency to sell sponsorship. Joe Gibbs Racing has hired owner Tad Jacinski. I don't even know how to fucking pronounce that. Just Schichter's marketing agency to help sell sponsorship. A unique, if not unprecedented, arrangement that will see a Chevy-aligned NASCAR team owner help find revenue for Toyota's flagship program. Just Schichter launched Brand Activation Maximizer, or BAM, in 2018, and has worked with entities like Minor League Baseball, Kroger, and a host of CPG brands since. Kroger also has a major full-season sponsorship deal with JTG, a one-car team in the NASCAR Cup Series, co-owned by the Schichter family and Brad Daugherty. Schichter, who has a background in retail marketing after a long-time stint at Procter & Gamble, has known the Gibbs family for years. Coincidentally, he and the late J.D. Gibbs both attended William and Mary. However, this is the first time that Schichter has helped another NASCAR team sell sponsorship, and he told SBJ Sports Business Journal that JGR is the only team he would likely do it for because of that past history. JTG is also sold out of inventory since Kroger takes up the full season, which likely also made Schichter more open to the arrangement. Because, of course, the 18 team is losing M&Ms at the end of the deal. So, it's a huge hole to fill for Gibbs Racing, which is $20 to $25 million in annual sponsorship revenue. So, JGR has said that they're in advanced discussions with a major technology company for a one-year deal for the 18 car for next year, according to sources, but an agreement is yet to be announced, and JGR President Dave Alpern told Sports Business Journal that the relationship with BAM will extend beyond filling the number 18 inventory. So obviously they've been trying to find sponsorship for the 18 team to keep Kyle Busch on board, which, I mean, they should pay the man if they can, because, I mean, he's having a pretty good season. Yes, he just has the one victory at Bristol, but, I mean, he's been a contender for victory on numerous occasions. Damn near won the Coke 600, you know? So, I mean, the 18 team is having a damn good season this year. So, if they can find a way to get sponsorship for that 18 team, they need to do so. Next up, Hamlin puts future 2311 investments on hold. This was kind of an interesting story. Because Denny Hamlin told Jim France in March that until he and his partner see a change in NASCAR's business model, all further major investments in 2311 racing are on hold. The bold statement underscored Hamlin's growing influence as he pushes for change. This is also in the Sports Business Journal. So let's take a look at that. So, speaking to the man who runs NASCAR, Denny Hamlin made one thing clear. Over a conversation at Atlanta Motor Speedway in March, the 41-year-old Hamlin told Jim France, the 77-year-old chairman and CEO of NASCAR, that until he and his business partners see a change in NASCAR's business model, all further major investments in the team, charters, and a splashy new headquarters are on hold. It was a bold exchange in a sport where drivers over the past decades have largely been expected to stay in their lanes when it comes to issues off the track. And it was directed toward none other than the son of NASCAR's founder. But Hamlin knows few filters, whether it's with competition, as he's become one of the most successful drivers in the sport's history, or with business matters as he grows his presence as a team owner. Having Michael Jordan in his corner as a co-owner of that 2311 racing team has given Hamlin an even greater stage for his push for change. His outspoken approach comes at a time when NASCAR experiments with ways to build the sport's popularity, ranging from schedule shakeups to this year's introduction of the next-gen race car, and to improve the sport's business model. Whether the pace of change is quick enough for Hamlin is questionable. From social media to private industry meetings, he freely and frequently weighs in on hot-button issues. The debate in the industry is whether Hamlin is a visionary who is improving the hide-bound sport with much-needed constructive criticism, or whether he's got too many assumptions for such a young team owner and is needlessly blunt. There have been missteps along the way, and Hamlin acknowledges he still has much to learn as an owner. Just don't expect him to take his foot off the gas. And Hamlin says the things we did 15 to 20 years ago are not the things you have to do now. I'm not saying I'm always right. Sometimes in retrospect, months or years later, I'm like, I don't know if that was completely right. But at the same time, I'm passionate about it. I really want this sport to take off. Which is a fair assumption. So, a bit of an interesting little deal. If you want to read the rest of the story, it is on there on the Sports Business Journal. You probably just have to look up Denny Hamlin. And it'll show up. So, but very interesting that he's putting all future investments in his team on hold until NASCAR changes its business model. Pretty interesting. Next up. Okay, Now we're getting into something that's really spicy. Marcus Smith says he is reluctant to move the All-Star race from Texas. Speaking of which, I'm just going to say this right now. I really seem to have ruffled some feathers with my All-Star race review, because that review received, I think, more dislikes than any other fuel review that I've had, which is weird because of the fact that I was basically in the same boat as pretty much the entirety of the NASCAR community in saying that the All-Star race was fucking garbage, and it was garbage. So that definitely confused me a little bit that my video got so many dislikes, which is confusing to say the least, because I was on board with the majority of the NASCAR community in that the race was ass, and it was ass. But apparently Marcus Smith pushed back against the criticism from the fan base, and to me this was just completely short-sighted. Cats, quit. But needless to say, this irritated the living piss out of me. So, Marcus Smith was on Sirius XM NASCAR, and he said he sounded reluctant to move the All-Star race from Texas, and said they sold more ticks this year. And this is some of the shit that he had to say. There's just some people out there who like to complain more often than anything. If you talk to the fans who were there, they had a great time. When we had it in Charlotte, we had some detractors who would always say, why is it in Charlotte? We move it and people say, let's put it back in Charlotte. I found nobody likes change, and nobody likes anything to stay the same. You can't make everybody happy. Hold on one second. There is some audio. I wonder if it's... Let me see here. Video capture device. Add audio output capture. Device, speakers, okay. Give me 1 second, I'm trying to get this fucking shit going here. Oh, I guess I already have one. Or was input capture. Okay. Guess I muted the wrong one. My bad. Alright, so, let me see here. Alright. Alright, I'm just making sure that I got it ready, because let's see what he has to say in this deal. I'm gonna turn this down so it's not super loud. And, yeah, let's listen and see what he says.
Yeah, we had it in Charlotte for a number of years, of course, and did it in Bristol when in 2020 when we couldn't have it in North Carolina, and then we moved it to Texas for the last couple of years. This event, we had more people buying tickets than we did last year. We had increase in tickets and camping. It was it's a lot of fun for all the people in the Southwest region of the United States. So we're always looking to make it bigger and better. I think the it's really it kind of amazes me, and this is just in general, but when we had it in Charlotte, we had some detractors who would always say, why is it in Charlotte, or it's just a warm-up event, and we move it, and people say, let's put it back in Charlotte. And so one thing I've found is that nobody likes change, and nobody likes anything to stay the same. So it's one of those things that you can't make everybody happy. I learned a few years ago when we put in the Speedway TV in Charlotte, which was one of the biggest things we've ever done for fans at the track, and we still had people complain about it. So I'm sorry to all the listeners out there, the ones that are upset. We know we've got a huge team that works really hard to make everybody happy, but there's just some people out there who like to complain more often than anything, and we really take our job seriously at putting on a phenomenal, memorable event every single weekend. And if you look at all of the things that our team at Texas did to deliver an amazing fan experience, I think if you talk to the fans that were there, they had a great time, and I saw thousands and thousands of them, and they were having a great time, as I was.
Well, there's a lot to unpack from that. So he says that, if you talk to the people that were there, the fans there had a good time. Well, first of all, no fucking shit, Marcus, because, I'm pretty sure that, the activities that you can do at the track, make it, a fun experience. And let's be honest here, going to, a track to watch a cup race, it is definitely a lot more enjoyable than watching on TV, because you get the at the track experience, you get the live experience, which is always much more enjoyable than watching it on television. So of course people are going to be they're going to say it's a good time. But just because going to the track is a much better time than watching it on TV doesn't mean that it wasn't fucking garbage. Because you can enjoy the stuff, that's at the track, like the other activities that you can do there, like the concert that was there, and all that good stuff. And then he also says that, people just like to complain. A couple problems with that one. Number one, we're not complaining about the activities that were at the racetrack and all that good stuff. That's fine. That's part of that's part of the experience. What we're complaining about is the on-track product, because what is the whole point of buying a race ticket? To go watch the fucking race. That's the whole point to buying a goddamn race ticket. And there were people that were actually there that said, yeah, the experience was great. We did have a good time. But the race sucked. That's the criticism that we're levying here. The race itself was trash. And he might have a point in saying that, there are people in the fan base, a lot of people in the fan base that complain just to complain, which I've criticized this fan base of doing that in years past. But here's the thing. This was probably the worst possible time that he could pull that card out. Because, even though we know that, we know how divided this fan base can be over every little fucking thing, if a few people complain about things, then it's whatever. But when 90% of the fan base say that this race was trash, that's when you need to stand up and pay attention. And he says that he's reluctant to move Texas, or move the All-Star race from Texas. Well, here's the thing, Marcus. If it's announced that the All-Star race is back at Texas Motor Speedway for 2023, I will not cover it, and I will not watch it. Because if the car pretty much remains the same in 2023, you sure as fuck know that we're probably going to see similar results next year. And let's be completely honest here. Texas Motor Speedway is fucking garbage. Okay? When Dover produces a better race than you did, you've got a fucking problem. Okay? I mean, this track was barely enjoyable as it was in the beginning. And then, for some dumb reason, they decided, oh, we're going to lower the banking in turns 1 and 2. It made it completely unenjoyable. And then, to try to save it, they put down the PJ1, which permanently stained the fucking track and made that upper lane seem like ice, you know, which also made it difficult for IndyCar to race there now. So, the track is completely fucking broken. I mean, at this point, you either, you know, completely, you know, I honestly see two options for Texas Motor Speedway at this point going forward. Either they, you know, they either completely rebuild the track, because let's be honest here, the asphalt is ruined with that PJ1 shit. They either need to dig up the track and start from scratch, or just take Texas Motor Speedway completely off the schedule altogether. Because the racing there is not good. If the next gen car couldn't produce good racing at Texas, and when we saw that Charlotte produced one hell of a race in the Coca-Cola 600, when the Coke 600 in past years has been fucking garbage, yeah, it's the track. And we gotta go back to this fucking piece of shit track in the playoffs this year. Fuck that noise. Yeah, good job, Marcus. You may have destroyed all the goodwill that you had built up from some of the shit that you've done, like, you know, resurrecting North Wilkesboro Speedway, but you may have just destroyed it all with this stupid fucking interview. Good job. Moving on, because we still got some more news stories to get through. There are some rumors circulating that Chicagoland may return to the Cup Series schedule next year. These are just rumors. But there may be some truth to them. And I say that because there's a story that's been posted that said that there are rumblings that NASCAR could race at Chicagoland Speedway next year. BeyondTheFlag.com is reporting that a race date is not out of the question. Mike Guglielmucci, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, I'm probably not, says it could happen. It looks like Phoenix is going to lose one of their two races, and Chicagoland could slot into that spot. And the race date could be August 13th, 2023. According to reporting by BeyondTheFlag.com, there has been fan outcries to have the racetrack back after a string of great races there before it lost its races during the COVID-19 outbreak in 2020. Which I do agree, because the asphalt at Chicagoland was starting to come into its own. It was starting to peak at the right time. You know, the last two races we had there before it lost its races were bangers, to say the least. So it made no sense to me why Chicagoland was taken off the schedule. But now we're hearing that it might come back to the schedule, and we've heard that Joliet's mayor had been, you know, saying, hey, we want NASCAR to come back to Chicagoland. So it may happen. I mean, Phoenix is, you know, hosting the championship, which we're going to be getting to that here in a minute. There's actually some news on that one as well. So Phoenix would probably lose its spring date in all likelihood. And let's be completely honest here, Phoenix, I mean, it used to be such a good racetrack, but then they started fucking with it, you know, making the dog leg wider and all that shit. And to me, it just completely ruined the racing there. The spring race wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good either. But I mean, honestly, with as good as the next gen car has been on the mile and a half, I honestly wouldn't mind a return to Chicagoland next year. So that's my opinion on that. Trackhouse has launched the Project 91 team. Now, what the hell is that, you might be asking? Well, Team Trackhouse announced that it is launching a program called Project 91, a part-time third car with the number 91 to bring global stars of racing to NASCAR a few times a year, starting this year. So basically, they're going to be reaching out to driving stars of other racing series to see if they want to race in the Cup Series for their part-time team at various points during the season. They're only going to be doing it once here in 2023, but they're going to be doing it at Watkins Glen. And the guy that they're going to be tapping to drive the 91 at Watkins Glen is a very well-known name. Kimi Räikkönen, former Formula One world champion, will be driving the Trackhouse 91 at Watkins Glen. Let's see if I can find it here. I guess I didn't like it for some reason. But yeah, Kimi Räikkönen has been tapped to drive the number 91 at Watkins Glen. And of course, Räikkönen does have some NASCAR experience. He drove in the Truck Series before making his return to Formula One. And he retired from Formula One, I believe at the end of last year. It was either last year or the year before. I can't remember. But yeah, he's going to be driving the 91 car for Trackhouse at Watkins Glen. So that'll be pretty interesting, to say the least. Next up, Pennzoil renews partnership with Team Penske. Of course, they've been a part of Team Penske for God knows how long at this point. But, yeah. So, Shell Stations US, Pennzoil, and Team Penske are set to build on their long-standing partnership with a multi-year extension. Let me see here. Alright. So I guess this is on the Team Penske website. So today, Aquilian Enterprises LLC, which is Shell Oil Products US, and Pennzoil Quaker State Company announced a multi-year extension and expansion of their sponsorship agreement with Team Penske, the NTT IndyCar Series, and Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Building on a long-time business relationship and technical alliance that began in motorsports and has extended well beyond the track, the agreement will feature some exciting new opportunities between industry-leading organizations beginning in 2023. The agreement includes engagement across the Team Penske and Penske Entertainment platforms as follows. Beginning in 2023, Shell will become the official fuel of the NTT IndyCar Series. Additional details regarding the official fuel designation will be announced soon. Shell Pennzoil will continue its sponsorship of Team Penske's winning NASCAR and IndyCar programs, including a 30-plus races as primary sponsor on the number 22 Shell Pennzoil Ford Mustang, driven by 2018 NASCAR Cup Series champion Joey Logano. Pennzoil will continue to serve as the official supplier of lubricants for Team Penske. Shell and Pennzoil will also be primary sponsors for two of Team Penske's entries in the Indianapolis 500-mile race. Two-time NTT IndyCar Series champion Joseph Newgarden will race the number 2 Shell V-Power Chevrolet, and Scott McLaughlin will compete in the number 3 Pennzoil Chevy at Indianapolis. Pennzoil will extend its sponsorship as the official motor oil and lubricant supplier of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, IndyCar, and the NTT IndyCar Series. Pennzoil will continue to sponsor the Pennzoil 150 at the Brickyard NASCAR Xfinity Series race at IMS in July. And Shell and Pennzoil will continue to serve as the preferred fuel and lubricant supplier for Penske Transportation Solutions and Penske Automotive Group. So obviously, very big deal for Team Penske and Pennzoil to continue their long-standing relationship. Now, this extension between Shell and Penske, according to Bob Pockrass, who reported on this, for sponsorship doesn't include a contract extension for Joey Logano yet, although I would imagine that that's in the works. Penske said that they have met and are in talks for an extension for Logano, whose current deal runs through 2023. I would imagine that they're going to get some kind of deal worked out. So, there you go. Penske says, We have an agreement with Joey through 2023. Obviously, he and I have talked about extending it. We wanted to get the Shell contract done, which we signed this past week. He and I are in good conversation about him. Expect to announce his extension here shortly. So we'll probably be reporting on that here in a little bit. Sorry, Daniel, I didn't see that you were you were commenting. I hope in the future, if Cup cars end up there again, it needs to be North Wilkesboro and always with the throwback paint schemes. I agree. I absolutely agree. If there is a, let's be honest here. They keep saying that Cup at North Wilkesboro is not a possibility at the moment. I mean, are you fucking serious? I mean, North Wilkesboro would be the perfect venue for the All-Star race. I mean, holy shit. I mean, it's just right up the road from Charlotte, you know, where most of the teams reside. You know, obviously, you know, the fans, you know, and the people there want, you know, NASCAR back. I mean, holy shit. I mean, it seems like the logical place to go. And yeah, the All-Star race. Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you can't have a points race at North Wilkesboro, at least have the All-Star race there. I mean, it makes the most sense to me. And I think I've been talking about that over the past couple of reviews, saying, yeah, North Wilkesboro would be perfect for the All-Star race. What about the fans that watch the racing for the racing? Exactly. You know, I mean, if you want to go there, if you want to go to a racetrack and have a good time, that's fine. You know, it's part of the experience, but I mean, we're not judging, you know, the show based on, you know, the activities at the racetrack. We're judging it based on the on-track product, and what we saw in the All-Star race was absolute shit. What a turd response. Yeah, it was. It sounded really out of touch, and this coming from someone who I thought had an open mind about a lot of things. I mean, let's be honest here. This is the guy who basically took, you know, the second race at Charlotte. Let's rewind a little bit. Charlotte Motor Speedway had 3 races at one point. The All-Star race, then you had the Coca-Cola 600, and then they had a 500-mile race in the fall. Obviously, all the attention and focus was on the All-Star race for obvious reasons, and the Coca-Cola 600 because, you know, that's a crown jewel race. The 500-mile race, which was the second date, felt like the forgotten race on the schedule. Nobody gave a fuck about it. And it seemed like it was going to be in danger of being cut from the schedule altogether because, again, nobody gave a shit about it. So what did Marcus Smith do? He decided to absolutely take a big risk. It was a big risk. And decided, you know what? Let's turn the second date at Charlotte into an infield road course race. And everybody was like, huh? Because the concept of turning one of their ovals into a road course, an infield road course, was a concept that was so foreign that nobody thought it would work. Because while we have permanent road courses and all that stuff, I don't recall NASCAR ever racing on an infield road course. The Roval, as it's now known as. And a lot of people were poo-pooing, you know, the Roval race, the first one. And a lot of people said, it's not going to be successful. It's going to be a failure. And you know what happened? It turned into one of the most anticipated races of the entire season. And it's been like that ever since it became the Roval. I mean, think about that for a minute. It turned into what was once one of the most forgotten races on the entire schedule into one of the most must-see events of the entire year. That's quite the fucking turnaround. And of course, its spot in the playoff, you know, I think it's one of the cutoff races this year, as it was last year. And even though I'm not a fan of the playoff by any stretch of the imagination, I made that abundantly clear in my previous reviews. its spot in the playoff makes it that much more, tense. And that's going to cause a lot of fans to tune in and say, I'm interested in see what's going to happen here. Because, remember last year, that race was batshit crazy. Also in terms of the championship, because there were times when Kyle Larson was completely out of the running to make it to the next round, and then he ended up winning the race, which eventually led to him winning the championship. So I'm not saying that Marcus Smith, hasn't done good for NASCAR, because he has. It's just that I don't know what the fuck their infatuation with having the All-Star race at Texas. I don't know what that's about. It just sounds like he didn't even watch the race when making that response. Saying, well, fans just, complain just to complain, which, he's not entirely wrong on that. The problem is, it was the worst possible time to pull that card out. Because literally 90% of the fan base said that race was trash. And it was trash. So, that's my feelings on that. So, I apologize, Daniel. I didn't see the comments there. But I was busy doing the new shit, so. But now here's some stuff that happened from during the Charlotte weekend. Couple of numbskulls in the lower tier series. Ryan Preece and Jeb Burton make themselves look like total D-bags. So, both of these instances were in the lower tier series, the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series races. So what am I referring to here? Well, in the Truck Series race, Carson Hocevar was trying to get his first career win, and it looked like he was on his way to doing so. And then there was a late caution. And he and Ryan Preece were battling it out for the win. He was trying to get back in front of Preece, ran up the track in turn 2, ran Preece in the wall, then took it too hard in turn 3, spun himself out, and wrecked Preece in the process. And the reaction of Hocevar afterwards was, he took the blame for it. And he was so emotional because it's like, he said this is what all he wanted to do, and he was so close to his first win, and, he screwed it up. Was he aggressive? A bit too aggressive, perhaps? Maybe. But he was going for the win, and he took the responsibility for it. That's all you can really say. He was going for the win. Yeah, he wrecked himself and Preece, but he accepted the blame for it. And then you had Ryan Preece's response, and the timing of this was just horrid. Because we saw Hocevar's interview, and then they had Ryan Preece's interview right afterwards. And his response to it was it just made him look like a total D-bag. Because he was basically, calling Hocevar out on it and all that stuff, and he was mad about what happened, which, here's the thing. I can understand him being upset about it, but the way he came across it was just absolutely fucking horrible. First of all, he was looking into the camera and was like, and I'm paraphrasing here because I don't remember exactly what he said. He said, "That type of racing that you saw, don't drive like that. You race with respect," or something like that. And then he proceeded to bury Hocevar, basically. "Oh, that was stupid," and all this other shit. And then during his MRN interview, they asked him, would you go and talk to Hocevar afterwards? And he's like, "Fuck no." That was literally his response. And I'm just sitting there like, really? This coming from a veteran of the sport. And he acted more like a fucking child than Hocevar did. Hocevar was emotional, but he lost the race and he took blame on himself. And Preece made himself out to be look like a whiny bitch. Because first of all, You know, that whole thing where he was staring into the camera and doing that little spiel. I mean, what the fuck was he doing there? I mean, you know, don't do that, you race with respect. What the fuck? Were you trying to emulate Hulk Hogan or some shit? I mean, what the fuck are you doing cutting a wrestling promo in a race interview? What the fuck is wrong with you? And then second of all, you go and you proceed to go and bury Hocevar, even though he took blame for the incident. You decide to just, you know, bury him for it, and it just made you look like a fucking douchebag. Like, holy shit. And let's not forget, this is the same motherfucker that cost Elliott Sadler the championship in the Xfinity Series a couple years ago. Remember that? And he wants to talk about racing with respect, and he doesn't seem to know how to fucking do it. You know, and then you have Eric Estep saying, you know, we need to have more outspoken drivers like this, you know, basically agreeing with Priest. And then he says, well, at least, it was kind of half-heartedly, it felt like. He said, well, at least, you know, Hocevar, you know, took blame for the incident, you know, all that other shit. I mean, I like Eric Estep, I really do. I mean, some of the stuff that some of the video content he does is really good. It really does. But it just seems like that there's just 1 or 2 times a year that just, he has a take that just makes me scratch my head. I remember a couple weeks ago, after, you know, the Bristol Dirt Race, you know, remember, you know, the post-race interview where Chase Briscoe came up to Tyler Reddick afterwards and manned up, stood face-to-face with him and said, that was my bad. You know, I was going for the win. You know, I tried to, you know, slide job, and I wrecked us both. It was my bad, and I apologize for that. That was my bad. And Tyler Reddick, I mean, he took it in stride. He's like, honestly, I would have done the same thing. You know, they shook hands on it, and it's like, I was like, that's how you earn respect. You know, both of those guys were racing hard for the win. For Chase, it would have been his second career win. For Tyler, it would have been his maiden win. So, you know, these guys are starting to, you know, race for wins and stuff in the Cup Series, and they were going for it. They were absolutely going for it, and it was a great show of sportsmanship between them. And Eric Estep, in his review of the Bristol Dirt Race, said, oh, that was just not a good look whatsoever. You know, he said something to the effect that Ty Gibbs' response in the Xfinity race the previous week at Richmond was an overreaction, which I agreed with. But then he said that Tyler Reddick's reaction to Chase Briscoe was an underreaction. And he said, oh, it was just not a good look. And I just looked at him like, what the fuck is wrong with you? So you're saying that good sportsmanship is bad? Like, I look at takes like that and I can't help but wonder if he's legitimately insane or not. And evidently a lot of people felt the exact same way because, I mean, he was getting, you know, a lot of backlash for that. And then he ended up saying, yeah, he ended up posting something down in the comments, and he penned it, saying to the effect that, yeah, what Tyler Reddick and Chase Briscoe did, that was, you know, good sportsmanship, and that's fine, you know, and all this other shit. And I was kind of like, yeah, nice backtrack, bro. So yeah, Ryan Preece made himself look like a total D-bag. And Jeb Burton. Oh, Jeb Burton. Here's someone who really needs to get off his own nuts. So apparently, after the Xfinity race at Charlotte, for some reason, he was getting into a shouting match with Noah Gragson. I guess because Gragson did a slide job on him. Even though it was clean, there was no contact between the two. And he was shouting at Gragson over it. I think he also said dog fuck or something like that. Something to that effect. I can't really remember what it was. And then his Twitter responses. His Twitter responses are fucking cringe. Because his responses to Gragson were... The first one was absolutely fucking putrid. He said, and I'm paraphrasing here, he basically said, You know, if I wanted to wreck you, you wouldn't be walking. What the fuck are you implying by saying that? What are you implying, that you're gonna paralyze him? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you, Jeb? I mean, seriously. You know, and then Ward Burton basically came to his defense, who I think is his uncle. You know, calling Noah Gragson a punk, and let's be honest here, Ward Burton's a fucking idiot anyways. You know, Ward Burton. You know, it's like, he's calling Gragson a punk, but Burton is the one who's acting like the total fucking tard monkey here. I mean, I understand wanting to defend your family members, but, I mean, no. Fuck that shit. What do you want, Cole? But then it gets even worse. Cat, can you please move? Then it gets even worse. Because then... yeah, Jeb Burton was, you know, yelling at him. And Noah Gragson was asked about Jeb Burton. He said, "Not worth my time. I focus on guys that win races." I think Jeb's only won one race in total. And then Jeb Burton actually said, and he tweeted this, and you can look this up. He says, "And like I said to his face, the only reason he's in the car is because of the check. I've been in the same stuff and outran him almost every race. Go look at the stats." Crying emoji, sneeze emoji, clown emoji. And oh boy, did people light his ass up. A lot of people did look at the stats. So here's what I'm going to do. Let's activate display capture. Here's the tweet I'm talking about. "And like I said to his face, the only reason he's in the car is because of the check. I've been in the same stuff and outran him almost every race. Go look at the stats." Now, let's not forget, Jeb Burton used to race at Junior Motorsports in 2020. So, people looked it up. Like this guy, Greg Mathern. "Okay, man, I did a little checking on this claim. You're not going to like the results. In 2020, when you both ran Junior Motorsports equipment, you were 3-8 against him. Gragson has 7 Xfinity wins to your 1. He finishes top 10 68.6% to your 34.8%. Maybe don't run your mouth on this one." There was another one in here. Yeah, and there were a lot of people that were lighting him up over the check the stats, you know, line. It's just like, you're just setting yourself up for failure when you do that shit. So we got this guy. "I got y'all. Jeb in 19 to 20. So 2019, 2020. 0 wins, 5 top 5s, 12 top 10s, 54 laps led in 18 races. Noah in 2019, 2020. 2 wins, 26 top 5s, 47 top 10s, 694 laps led." So what does that tell you? And then he doubles down on his bullshit with this tweet. "Waving to the haters and smiling to the supporters." I'm guessing that's his girlfriend. And I'm just thinking to myself, why the fuck are you posting a picture with your girlfriend as a way of, "Hey, look at what I got"? I mean, what the fuck is wrong with you, Jeb? I mean, seriously. I mean, you know how much of a fucking idiot you're making yourself look like? I mean, holy shit, dude. And I hear he says, you aren't winning anyone over to your side. If anything, he's making Gragson more likable. And I tweeted something to him. I don't know where the fuck it is. I hear, dude, seriously, just stop. This is becoming cringe at this point. You know, what the fuck has Jeb done this year? I mean, really. He hasn't done jack shit in that 27 car. So the fact that he's trying to do, you know, this fucking flexing shit, you know, check the stats. Yeah, a lot of people did, and they determined you're a fucking liar. Like, if you're going to try to make an insult about checking the stats to see if you're better, you might want to make sure that your stats are actually better than the person you're trying to insult. Because if not, it's going to make you look like a complete and total fucking blithering idiot. So Jeb Burton took not one, not two, but 3 L's last week at Charlotte. Good fucking job, you fucking moron. God, I can't stand shit like that. And finally, oh wait, not finally, Phoenix will host the championship finale in 2023. This got quite the mixed reaction on social media because it's like, dude, really? We saw the spring race at Phoenix this year and it was just not that good. It wasn't. But they will host the championship at Phoenix once again. I mean, they've got to try to make their money back, I suppose. So, there is that. But, yeah. I think it's honestly time for a different championship finale after 2023 because Phoenix is just not doing it. And, finally, Gateway becomes the 4th Cup race to sell out in 2022. Basically sell all of their grandstand tickets, their pit passes, and all of their camping spaces. So, important notice to fans, and this was, I guess, on their website. There will be no walk-up ticket options or general admissions. Tickets are not available on site. Parking passes must be purchased online prior to arrival. Please follow the routes posted on www.raceway.com. And according to Jeff Gluck, who posted this 3 days ago, 4th NASCAR sellout of the season goes to WWT Raceway, Worldwide Technologies Raceway, which is Gateway, for the inaugural St. Louis race this weekend. All 57,000 seats, all suites, and all camping sold. Daytona 500, Phoenix Spring Race, and Coke 600 were also announced as sellouts. Of course, this is also the same track that manages to sell a lot of seats for the IndyCar race. So, I mean, if there's one thing that, you know, the promoters at Gateway are good at, it's promoting their shit. Because, I mean, they damn near sell out their IndyCar races there. You know, and now you have the Cup Series, and it should be obvious that it was going to fucking sell out. I mean, it's the first ever Cup race at Gateway. Of course it's going to sell out. Now, whether or not it's going to be good, we don't really fucking know. But it'll be interesting to find out tomorrow when that race hits. But that is it for the news of the week. A lot of shit to talk about. So hopefully with the review tomorrow, we won't have that much to talk about in terms of news shit. Oh, there is one other thing that I haven't gotten here. Chris Buescher will not be racing at Gateway tomorrow because he has actually got COVID. So Zane Smith is actually going to be slotting into that 17 car for this week. But Chris Buescher should be back in the car for Sonoma. And I think he will get a medical exemption because one of the rules is you have to, you know, attempt all the races to be eligible for the playoff. But since he's going to be out with COVID this week, he's probably going to get a medical exemption from NASCAR for that. So there you go. Looks like Team YouTube got back to me. Since I reached 100 subscribers, I've been checking to see if I can change my URL. So try checking to see if I can do it in a different browser. Okay, I can do that. Fuck it. But, yeah, lots of shit to talk about this week. And we haven't even gotten to the damn review yet. What the fuck is that? We haven't even gotten to the damn review yet. I mean, that's how crazy these past couple weeks have been. Give me 1 second here. Checking something. Done. Yeah, since I reached 100 subscribers, I should be able to change my my URL into something that's, you know, not as shitty as the one I got. So, let us see. What are you cats doing? See what these freaking cats are doing, climbing all over the chair and shit. Like, you cats could be a pain in my ass, to say the least. I keep looking back at the chat, and I see Daniel's previous comment. What a turd response. Sorry, I just found that really funny. Oh, Lord. You can tell I am a bit exhausted. It has been actually worked today because I volunteered to get some extra hours at work. The entire month of May has been fucking insane. Cat, what are you doing? Jesus. Suck the channel. 100 subscribers. Cat, get out of the way of the camera. Come on, move. Move. Come on. Over here. Oh, shit. Just give me another minute or so. I'm just checking something real quick. Cat, quit chewing on the cord. Nope. I'll have to tell him about that. Alright, so what do you say we get into this review and get it over with? Because this video is already running quite a bit long. We're an hour and 15 into this, and we haven't even gotten to the review yet. And it's going to be a long review, so let's get into it. I forgot to put the damn race logo in. Way to go, me. Where is it? There we go. Just fucking everything up today, but you know, whatever. Alright. Obviously our 140th episode, title of the episode, Bloodbath Marathon, as I stated before. And this is our review of the 63rd Coca-Cola 600. Of course, I got my race notes here as usual. A lot of cars had to go to the rear of the field for this race. The 10 of Almirola had a steering rack issue. The 47 of Stenhouse also had a steering rack issue. The 41 of Cole Custer had a half shaft problem. 50 of Kaz Gralla for adjustments. A 5 of Kyle Larson for repairs. And 7 of Corey LaJoie for a backup car. So all 4 stages were 100 laps. This is the only race that does 4 stages as opposed to the usual 3. So a lot more points on the line in this case. So we're going with stage 1, 100 laps. Denny Hamlin starts from the pole. Kurt Busch and Hamlin were side by side down the backstretch. Hamlin leads lap 1 by inches. Kurt Busch has a run underneath of Hamlin for the lead, but is unable to grab it. Actually, it was Kurt Busch that led lap 1 by inches. I don't know why I put that in my notes. Bubba Wallace gets by Byron for 4th, then by Kyle Busch for 3rd. But then Kyle does the crossover move. We have a first pure lead change on lap 3 when Denny Hamlin takes the lead. Wallace gets by Kurt Busch for 3rd. Kyle Busch makes the pass on Hamlin for the race lead. And then Reddick gets by Kurt for 4th as Kurt tries to crossover. So we have our second pure lead change on lap 10. Hamlin drops to 5th as Wallace is now up to 2nd. Reddick is 3rd and Byron is 4th. Boy, William Byron has just not been looking good as of late. He hasn't had a top 10 finish since his win at Martinsville. Okay, let me take that out. And we have our first caution on lap 18. We have a synchro spin in turn 4 as Ryan Preece spins. Noah Gragson and Chris Buescher spin to try to avoid him with the 17 door slamming the 15. So how about that karma for Ryan Preece for being a douchebag? Everyone comes in for service. Kyle Busch wins the race off pit road. Truex and Blaney get nabbed for speeding, and Gilliland gets penalized for an uncontrolled tire. So Kyle Busch leads on the restart. Busch breaks away as Byron and Reddick are side by side for 2nd. Wallace goes around the outside of Reddick for 3rd, then under Byron for 2nd. But Wallace had a really good car in this race. Caution number 2 on lap 32, Josh Bilicki spins, but no replay was shown. But that's Fox for you. Most of the field comes in for service, and Larson gets penalized for equipment out of the box. Yeah, the first half of this race was not kind to Kyle Larson. Kyle Busch stays out and leads on the restart. Freaking cat. Briscoe slips up in turn 2. He was one of the cars who stayed out. Wallace goes side by side with Kyle Busch for the lead. He actually takes the lead on lap 40 for a 3rd pure lead change of the day, but Kyle Busch gets back around him for a 4th pure lead change on lap 41. So the lead changes are coming fast and furious at this point. Suarez gets by Hamlin and Bubba to move up to 2nd. Suarez gets underneath the Kyle Busch for the race lead for a 5th pure lead change on lap 46. Then we have our 3rd caution 1 lap later when Kyle Busch gets loose on the outside of Suarez and spins in turn 2. Doesn't hit anything though. Is able to keep going. So Suarez, and there was no contact between the two either. It was just, he tried to gas it up to stay on his outside and got loose. Cat, quit messing with the cords. Suarez leads on the restart. Bowman gets by Hamlin for 2nd as the Hendrick Brigade makes its presence known in the top 5. Larson smacks the wall in turn 3 but keeps going. Elliott gets by Hamlin for 3rd, and Byron gets by Hamlin for 4th. Cindric nearly chops the nose of Reddick going into turn 3, but there was no contact. Elliott gets by Bowman for 2nd. We have a battle for 5th between Cindric, Reddick, and Hamlin. Then we have our 4th caution on lap 62 when Corey LaJoie blows a tire and spins into the turn 2 wall. Everyone comes in for service, and Elliott wins the race off of pit road. And Larson gets penalized yet again, this time for equipment interference, as well as Justin Haley. So at this point, I would imagine that there's smoke coming out of that 5's helmet. Elliott leads on the restart. Reddick gets by Hamlin for 5th. Blaney and Bell make contact off of turn 4 but keeps going. Reddick gets by Bowman for 4th and challenges Suarez for 3rd. Bowman gets by Suarez for 4th, Chastain up to 6th on lap 78. The battle for 5th, we have a great battle for 5th between Suarez, Bell, Chastain, Blaney, and Bubba Wallace. There was a lot of good racing in this first stage. Suarez starts dropping like a rock back to the 9th position, and he actually fell all the way outside the top 20. And I think it was because he had a deflating tire from what I heard. Chastain gets by Bowman for 5th. Bell gets by Byron for third. Reddick closing in on Elliott for the race lead. Byron just about loses it off of turn 2 but hangs on. Bubba Wallace gets by Blaney for fifth, and Chase Elliott wins stage number 1. Everyone comes in for service, and Elliott wins the race off of pit road. So now we come to stage number 2, which is also 100 laps. Alex Bowman has a long stop after the crew has trouble getting one of the wheel nuts off. So Chase Elliott leads the start of stage 2. There was 3 wide in the mid-pack. Hamlin and Byron battle for the 7th position. Chastain battles Elliott for the lead and takes it for a 6 pure lead change on lap 111. Kyle Busch back into the top 10 on lap 115. The top 4 within a second of each other, and it was Chastain, Elliott, Christopher Bell, and Bubba Wallace. Then we have our 5th caution on lap 127 when Bubba Wallace spins off a turn 4, but doesn't hit anything. Conveniently finds his pit stall though. Everyone comes in for service, and Elliott wins the race off of pit road. Larson with a flamethrower out of the fuel intake. The fuel out of the fuel intake somehow caught fire. Fire! It just keeps piling up for Larson in the first half of this race. Elliott leads on the restart. We have a big stack up at the back. Kurt Busch gets by Truex for 4th. Then we have our 6th caution on lap 145. Cat, get out of the way. Come on, move. Out of the way. Austin Cindric spins in turn 3 after possibly cutting down a rear tire, which destroys the rear of his car, and he's done for the day. Austin Cindric, I tell you what, he has not looked all that good ever since his Daytona 500 victory. He has not. I mean, yeah, he got that win in like his 5th start, but ever since then, it's just not looked good in that 2 car. Cats, get off the damn cord. For fuck's sake. Quit messing with shit. Cats. They're great to have, but man, they can be annoying as fuck. Anyways, as I was saying, Austin Cindric has not been looking good this year ever since the Daytona 500. I mean, yes, he has the Daytona 500 win, which is always great, but ever since then, he's just not looked good at all. Most of the field comes in for service under this caution. Elliott wins the race off pit road, but Blaney stays out. So he leads on the restart, but Elliott blows by Blaney for the race lead on the restart. A couple penalties on pit road under the previous caution. Truex over the wall too soon for his pit crew. Gilliland and Stenhouse for speeding. Blaney off the pace after getting loose and smacking the wall in turn 1. Then we have our 7th caution on lap 165. Cat, quit messing with shit. God damn. When Kyle Larson spins off a turn 4, similar to what happened to Bubba earlier. So Larson's shitty first half continues. Some of the cars come in for service, and Elliott leads on the restart. Chastain snags the lead on the restart as teammate Suarez moves into 2nd. So it's obvious that the Trackhouse cars were pretty fast in this race. So the 2 Trackhouse teammates fight for the race lead. Kurt Busch gets by Reddick for 5th. Lots of shuffling in the mid-pack. Logano and Byron were battling for position. Lol. Stenhouse, Cole Cox, Blaney's rear bumper on the front stretch. And then we have our 8th caution on lap 187 when Elliott spins off a turn 4 after a tire goes down from contact with the wall. And once again, split strategy on pit stops. And for some reason, actually, hold on one second. Chastain leads on the restart. Then we have our 9th caution on lap 192, and this is when we're piling them up. Big wreck as Blaney spins in turn 2 after he clips the apron, and a lot of cars pile in. There were 12 cars in total in this accident. The 4 of Kevin Harvick, the 6 of Brad Keselowski, the 9 of Chase Elliott, the 11 of Denny Hamlin. Some got away with minor damage. 12 of Ryan Blaney, 16, which was Noah Gragson, I believe, for this race. The 19 of Truex, the 21 of Harrison Burton, the 24 of William Byron, 34 of Michael McDowell, 38 of Todd Gilliland, and the 45 of Kurt Busch. And apparently, because Chase Elliott was not able to get up to speed because of the fact that this wreck happened right after the restart, the clock ran out on Chase Elliott and he was forced to retire from the race, as well as Bubba Wallace, who apparently was not up to speed in 3 consecutive laps, even though the car was fast enough to do so. So the damaged vehicle policy is fucking stupid. I mean, I was initially for it because I thought it would be a way to, you know, keep damaged cars off the track. But let's be completely honest here. The way that NASCAR has handled the damaged vehicle policy has been fucking horrid. But then again, what else is new? I mean, a lot of times when they introduce new rules, I mean, they just completely fuck them up. And this is the case here. I mean, either increase the time from 6 minutes to 10 minutes. I mean, 6 minutes is just not enough time. Either increase it to 10 minutes or get rid of it entirely, because it's fucking stupid. Cat, quit messing with shit. Fuck. So Chastain leads on the restart. Suarez gets the lead on the restart, though. Eric Jones gets by Chastain for second, and Daniel Suarez wins stage number 2. Then we have a halftime break to remember the fallen troops because it was Memorial Day weekend. After that, everyone comes in for service, and Suarez wins the race off pit road. So now we come to stage number 3, which is also 100 laps. Logano stays out and leads the start of stage 3. Kyle Busch and Chastain gets by Truex for second and third. Suarez follows suit. We were 3 wide for second with Kyle Busch, Chastain, and Suarez. Suarez gets underneath of Logano for the race lead for a 7th pure lead change on lap 2:14. Chastain follows his teammate through to second. We have our 10th caution on lap 2:19 when Kevin Harvick gets loose in turns 2 and smacks the wall, but keeps going. Several drivers come in for service. Chastain stays out and leads on the restart. Briscoe moves up to third on the restart and battles Logano for second. Suarez starts bull rushing back to the field on fresh tires. We have a battle for second between Logano, Briscoe, and Suarez. Bell gets by Kyle Busch for fifth. Briscoe gets by Logano for third. We have a battle for 10th between Gragson, Harvick, Buescher, and Larson, which was pretty good. Daniel Suarez manages to get the lead back on the fresh tires for 8th pure lead change on lap 252. Then we get our 11th caution 1 lap later on lap 253 when Noah Gragson spins off of turn 4. Everyone comes in for service and Chastain wins the race off pit road, and Kyle Busch is penalized for an uncontrolled tire. Ouch. So Chastain leads on the restart. Now we have Chase Briscoe up here challenging for the race lead. And he takes it on lap 260 for our 9th pure lead change of the day. He got the lead, but Chastain does the crossover and gets the lead back 1 lap later for our 10th pure lead change on lap 261. Yes, we have made it into double digits in pure lead changes. Not something you see very often outside of super speedways. We have a 3-way fight for the lead between Chastain, Briscoe, and Tyler Reddick. Three of the rising stars of the NASCAR Cup Series circuit. Buescher and Larson in the top 5 despite all of the issues they've had in this race. We were very racy in the mid-pack. Christopher Bell has to pit for an emergency stop after slowing on track. Looked like he had a flat tire or something of that nature. Kyle Busch and Almirola make contact off of turn 2. Stenhouse, Truex, Harvick, and Almirola fighting hard in the mid-pack. We have a battle for 6th between Buescher, Hamlin, Custer, and Logano. Eric Jones joins in on the fun, as well as Austin Dillon. Kyle Busch has an unscheduled stop, so his stage 3 just continues to go south. And Ross Chastain wins stage number 3. So everyone comes in for service, and Reddick wins the race off pit road. And Bowman this time gets penalized for equipment interference. So now we come to stage number 4, the final 100 laps. And this is when shit really gets crazy. Reddick leads the start of stage 4. Larson gets by Custer for 3rd, then challenges Chastain for 2nd. Briscoe tries to come into the mix as well. We have a battle for 4th between Custer, Suarez, and Briscoe. Chastain starts challenging Reddick for the race lead and takes it on lap 324 for our 11th pure lead change of the day. Larson starts closing in on both of them for the race lead. Reddick starts reporting a vibration. Amarola squeezes Jones into the wall after Truex tries to go underneath him, 3 wide. Then we have our 12th caution on lap 339 when Tyler Reddick suffers a blown left rear tire. So obviously that vibration turned out to be the left rear tire going flat. Tough break for Reddick. He's been so close to winning a race on so many occasions this year. He's just had shit luck. He is going to get one. When? Not really sure. Everyone comes in for service, and Chastain wins the race off of pit road, so he leads on the restart. Then we have our 13th caution on lap 345, and this was a big one. Suarez gets loose off of turn 4 and slides sideways after contact from Chase Briscoe. Suarez gets hit in the rear by Todd Gilliland, which sends the 99 into Chris Buescher, who was already sideways after contact from Harrison Burton. The impact destroys the A-frame in the 17 car, and this causes the right front tire to basically break, like the suspension was broken on it. And as he was going through the turf, the right front tire basically rolled underneath the car, and it basically pogoed the 17 into a barrel roll, which was pretty spectacular. But thankfully, Buescher was okay. And so was Suarez. But man, Suarez had probably a car that could have won this race. So Suarez, yet again, has a fast car, but doesn't get the chance to win the race. And Buescher, they took their sweet time getting that car turned over, which earned the ire of team owner Brad Keselowski. Is like, yeah, that seemed like it took way too long to do. So we have a red flag to clean up the mess. So it's like, shit. So we have to wait through a red flag now. And this race was already long as it was. It was good, but it was still way long. And at this point, I'm just trying not to fall asleep. I was on the verge of drifting off a couple times because it had been a long day. You know, especially after watching the Indy 500 and then turning around and watching the Coke 600 after that. So Chastain leads on the restart. Larson cuts off Briscoe to maintain second and then actually manages to take the lead from Chastain on lap 354 for our 12th pure lead change of the day. So after all the bullshit that Kyle Larson went through in that first race, in the first half of this race, then you have his crew chief, Cliff Daniels, basically telling him, yeah, you know, we've even had our car on fire at one point, we've had so many penalties, we've spun out, but I'm paraphrasing here, but we still got a chance to win this race because you are one hell of a driver. Because Kyle Larson was basically down on himself in that first half of the race, but Cliff Daniels basically talked him back up, and hey, look, he's back in the lead of the race on lap 354. How about that? Briscoe gets by Chastain for second. We have a battle for fourth between Logano, Hamlin, and Custer. And then Chase Briscoe starts closing on Larson for the race lead. So all of a sudden, the chase is on between the two of them. Bell starts closing in on Custer for fifth. And it's Larson versus Briscoe with 15 laps to go. Briscoe is right there. Bell then has a flat rear tire and has to pit. Almirola into the wall, but keeps it going. Briscoe was still on Larson's bumper with 5 laps to go. I mean, they were basically close to each other this entire run. Briscoe actually manages to get underneath of Larson and actually lead a lap on lap 395 for a 13th pure lead change. Briscoe tries to slide job, but Larson powers back by on the outside for a 14th pure lead change on lap 396. And then we get our 14th caution on lap 399, 2 laps to go. Chase Briscoe tries to dive bomb in turn 1, kind of similar to what he did at Bristol, but ends up spinning it out. Does not collect Larson in this case, but he does end up spinning himself out, and this causes the caution. And because we had gone through quite the green flag run, and considering how good new tires were, everyone comes in for service. Larson wins the race off pit road, taking just 2 tires. There were several drivers that actually took just 2 tires, while there were some drivers that took 4 tires. And that would come into play on this first overtime. So Larson leads the start of the first overtime. Gets a good jump down the backstretch, but then all of a sudden we're 3 wide down the backstretch, and then Austin Dillon on 4 fresh tires does an absolute dive bomb while on the bottom of 3 wide, gets by the guys he's racing with, and manages to get underneath of Larson. And it's looking like he might actually steal this race away. But then we get our 15th and final caution in our first overtime. 4 wide off of turn 4 for the lead does not work. It was 4 wide between Ross Chastain, Kyle Larson, Austin Dillon, and Denny Hamlin. And 4 wide does not work because Austin Dillon comes across Larson's nose, and away they go. Dillon, Larson, Chastain, Logano, and Custer are all involved in this accident, as well as Stenhouse and Truex. So we have to go to a second overtime, which Hamlin leads the start of this one. But Kyle Busch manages to get to his outside, and he leads at the white flag. And at one point it looks like he's going to clear Hamlin, but then going into turn 1, his car gets loose. Hamlin gets back by on the inside. Kyle Busch tries one last attempt in turns 3 and 4 to try to get back to Hamlin, but it's to no avail. And Denny Hamlin basically steals the Coca-Cola 600 win. It was a non-factor for the win pretty much the entire race, and then right at the end steals the Coca-Cola 600, much like he did at Richmond earlier this year. And it was not a popular victory. He got a lot of boos when he parked on the front stretch and got out of the car. It was a shower of boos. He is not a very popular driver right now. And that ended up being our 15th and final pure lead change. It was a last lap pass. And that is your Coca-Cola 600. Quite the crazy race, to say the least. So, with that finally done, let's go to our stats and awards for this race. So, obviously, total laps was 400, 100, 100, 100, and 100, although it did get extended by 13 laps for overtime, making this the longest race in Cup Series history. Overall lead changes. We had 31 overall lead changes in this race, 15 of which were pure lead changes. So good numbers all around, except for this one. 15 caution flags. Way too many fucking caution flags for this race. Green flag passes. There were 3,821 green flag passes, which comes out to an average of 11.8 per green flag lap. So pretty damn good. Lap leader award goes to Ross Chastain, who led 153 laps on the day. Star of the race. This was actually a bit tough because you had so many drivers that had so many problems during this race and came back and had good finishes. So I'm going to actually give this award to 2 drivers in this race because all the shit that they went through in this race and to come back and still be in contention to win, even though they didn't win, you know, for them to even be in contention to win after all the crap that they went through is pretty impressive. And it goes to both of the Kyles, Kyle Busch and Kyle Larson. Larson, of course, probably would have won the race had it not been for that caution that came out with 2 laps to go. And Kyle Busch, he was leading at the white flag. You know, I think Kyle Larson still managed to come back and get a top 10 finish despite being involved in the final caution. But considering everything that these guys went through, for them to come back and get the finishes that they did and still be contenders for the win is pretty impressive. Reject of the race goes to the damaged vehicle policy. It fucking sucks. I already explained why I thought it sucks. Either extend it to 10 minutes or get rid of it because it's garbage. And that's my feeling on that. Race results and point standings for the Coca-Cola 600. Top 10 finishers. Denny Hamlin, of course, with the win. He wins from the pole, but only led 15 of the race's 413 laps. He was basically a non-factor until the end. Kyle Busch comes home in second after leading 36 laps. Kevin Harvick, again, out of nowhere, finishes third. Chase Briscoe in fourth. Christopher Bell, despite his issues, he also came back to finish fifth. Tyler Reddick finishes 6th, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 7th, Michael McDowell snookers a top 10 run. Kyle Larson finishes 9th after leading 51 laps, and Alex Bowman quietly finishes in the top 10. Point standings coming out of the Coca-Cola 600. Chase Elliott continues to lead the way, but his points lead is down to 34 because Ross Chastain scored a shit ton of points in this race due to his pretty good finishes in the first 3 stages. He ended up finishing 15th at the end of the day, despite leading the most laps because he had damage from the last caution, which slowed his car down tremendously, so he ended up finishing 15th after it was all said and done. But thanks to all the points that he earned from the stages earlier, he's now just 34 points behind Chase Elliott for the regular season point lead. And Kyle Busch is not that far back either. He's only 37 points back. So Kyle Busch still maintaining his good run. Ryan Blaney in 4th, Truex in 5th. Truex has said that he's not sure if he's going to be racing again come next year, but he said he'll have an answer for that at some point here in the next few weeks. We're going to be keeping an eye on that. Joey Logano in 6th, William Byron 7th, despite the fact that he's not had a top 10 since Martinsville. Then you have Alex Bowman, Kyle Larson, and Christopher Bell rounding out the top 10. And the rest of the top 20, Kevin Harvick, Tyler Reddick, Chase Briscoe, Eric Almirola, Austin Dillon, Eric Jones, Denny Hamlin. Yes, Denny Hamlin has 2 wins, but is 17th in points. That just shows you how fucking feast or famine Denny Hamlin's season has been. Then you have Suarez, Cindric, and Kurt Busch. And that is your top 20 in the point standings. NASCAR standings with F1 points, my little shits and giggles section of the review. Start with the Truck Series. John Hunter Nemechek has taken over the points lead from Ben Rhodes, who has not been running all that well, although he did pretty good in the truck race earlier today, although he ended up finishing 7th, I think. So he's 2nd in points. Zane Smith 3rd in points, 167, so he's only 10 behind John Hunter Nemechek. Then you have Chandler Smith, Christian Eckes, Ty Majeski, Stuart Friesen, Carson Hocevar, Grant Enfinger, and Kyle Busch in the top 10, and then the rest of the top 20. Ryan Preece, Tanner Gray, Parker Kligerman, Corey Heim, Matt Crafton, Ross Chastain, Derek Kraus, Matt DiBenedetto, William Byron, and Tyler Ankrum. And that's the Truck Series with F1 points. Xfinity Series. Noah Gragson leads AJ Allmendinger by 40 points. Justin Allgaier moves up to 3rd with 207. Then you have Ty Gibbs at 205. Josh Berry at 195. Then you have Sam Mayer, Brandon Jones, and Austin Hill. Those are the drivers over 100 points. Then Riley Herbst and Daniel Hemrick running at the top 10. Rest of the top 20 is Landon Castle, John Hunter Nemechek, Trevor Bayne, Cole Custer, Ryan Sieg, Tyler Reddick, Anthony Alfredo, Sheldon Creed, Ryan Truex, and William Byron. And then as far as the Cup Series is concerned, because of all those points that Chastain earned, he's now got a 47-point lead over Kyle Larson in the F1 style standings. Well, Kyle Larson and Kyle Busch, who are now tied for 2nd. Chase Elliott is 4th with 165. William Byron is 5th with 163. So pretty close between 2nd and 5th. Then you have Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, and Martin Truex Jr. rounding at the top 10. The rest of the top 20, Alex Bowman, the last driver, over 100 points. Then you have Denny Hamlin, Chase Briscoe, Kurt Busch, Kevin Harvick, Austin Dillon, Daniel Suarez, Eric Jones, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and Eric Almirola. And that was from the All-Star race. That's not what I'm going to be giving in this race. But now we've come to the fuel gauge. My final rating for the Coca-Cola 600. Yeah, this race went on way too long. 5 hours and 13 minutes was the total run time for this race. Way too fucking long, even for the 600. And way too many caution flags. So that's definitely going to bring the score down a little bit. But when the racing was on, the racing was good. It was great. Lots of good racing, lots of lead changes. Very, very competitive Coca-Cola 600 this year. So I'm going to give the Coke 600 a solid 7 on the fuel gauge. Without all the caution flags, and if the race had been just a little bit shorter, I probably would have given it a high 8, low 9. But, you know, all the caution flags and the fact that this race was long, lasted over 5 hours, that definitely takes away from it a little bit. But considering that we've sat through some absolutely wretched Coca-Cola 600s in the past, you know, the fact that, you know, this race got a 7 is pretty damn good. For a 600-mile race, that's pretty damn good. But that is going to do it for a very eventful evening. long review, but there was a lot of shit to talk about tonight. Oh, I'm exhausted. It's been a long day. Worked my 9 to 5 today to get some extra hours. Then watched Trucks and Xfinity. And then did this review. And I am exhausted. So I'm going to bed. It is midnight. I'm going to bed. Get some sleep. Get ready for the Cup race at Gateway tomorrow. But that's going to do it for tonight's edition of The Fuel. Thank you very much for watching. And thank you very much for 100 subscribers once again. I appreciate it. After 3.5 years, I finally made it to 100 subscribers. I guess the next goal is 1,000 subscribers, but I don't ever expect to get there. But, you know, we'll see. But thank you very much for watching. And until next time, this is the Packer Man, signing out. See you later. Thank you for watching tonight's video. Be sure to like and subscribe, you jackweeds.